have a very precious collection of authentic items which have been found throughout the Greek peninsula, and it is through such objects that we know most of what we know today about the ancient Olympic Games. Now, as you may know, these ancient Olympic Games took place already as far back as the year 776 BC. The oldest material proof that we have of the existence of these games is a short list of winners from that year. If you have a look at some of these objects, you'll see that athletes are all portrayed naked. The reason for this is that sports were indeed practiced entirely naked back then, be it for practice or for training. Now, as you may know, Greeks gave a lot of importance to physical beauty. They saw it as a reflection of inner beauty, and also as a gift to the gods. But before practicing sports, they would prepare with a little ritual. They would first they would apply olive oil onto their skin. Here we have their little grooming kit. These little bottles here are called aribales in Greek. This is where the athletes carried the oil. First they would apply olive oil onto their skin, and then they would sprinkle a very, very fine sand over their body. This mixture of oil and sand would form a protective layer, mostly against the sun. And studies have also shown that it helps the body regulate body temperature much in the same way as sweat does naturally. And after practicing sports, they would scrape off this mixture of oil, sweat, and sand using that spatula. It's a so-called, in Greek they call it a strigil. And then they would finish bathing with a sponge. So all an athlete really needed back then were these few items. Now, there we have my personal favorite ancient Olympic sport. It's the long jump. We have a reproduction of a long jumper in mid-action up on the wall there. And you may notice that he's carrying weights in each hand. Now, the technique for the long jump back then wasn't quite the same as it is today. The athletes would first, from a stand, swing their arms forwards with these weights, jump. In midair, they would swing their arms back again, and then they would finally let go of the weights. You may be able to imagine the inertia effect which is generated through this, but it was a nice combination of physical strength and coordination. Other sports, however, were not as elegant. The most brutal of all was called pancrazio. It was a form of boxing, wrestling, in which pretty much anything was allowed except biting and putting your fingers in your adversary's eyes. They even protected their fists with leather bands with little metal inlaid pieces.